If I had been the hero everyone thought I was, or even a half-decent soldier, Lee would have won the Battle of Gettysburg and probably captured Washington. That is another story which I shall set down in its proper place if brandy and old age don't carry me off first, but I mention the fact here because it shows how great events are decided by trifles. Scholars, of course, won't have it so. Policies, they say, and the subtly laid schemes of statesmen are what influence the destinies of nations, the opinions of intellectuals, the writings of philosophers, settle the fate of mankind. Well, they may do their share, but in my experience the course of history is as often settled by someone's having a bellyache or not sleeping well, or a sailor getting drunk, or some aristocratic harlot waggling her backside. So when I say that my being rude to a certain foreigner altered the course of European history, it is a considered judgment. If I'd dreamed for a moment how important that man was going to be, I'd have been as civil as the devil to him, yes, milording and stroking his back, but in my youth and ignorance I imagined that he was one of those to whom I could be rude with impunity, servants, tarts, bagmen, shopkeepers, and foreigners. So I gave my unpleasant tongue free rein. In the long run it nearly cost me my neck, quite apart from changing the map of the world. It was in 42, when I was barely out of my teens, but already famous. I had taken a distinguished part in the fiasco known as the First Afghan War, emerged with a hero's laurels, been decorated by the Queen, and lionized all over London. The fact that I had gone through the campaign in a state of abject terror, lying, deceiving, bluffing, and running for dear life whenever possible, was known to no one but myself. If one or two suspected, they kept quiet. It wouldn't have been fashionable to throw dirt at the valiant Harry Flashman just then. If you've read the first packet of my memoirs, you will know all this. I mention it here in case the packet should get separated, so that you will know at once that this is the true story of a dishonest poltroon who takes a perverse pride in having attained to an honoured and admired old age, in spite of his many vices and entire lack of virtue. Or possibly because of them. So, there I was, in 42, big, bluff, handsome Harry, beloved of London society, admired of the Horse Guards, although I was only a captain, possessed of a beautiful wife, apparently affluent, seen in the best company, gushed at by the mammas, respected by the men as the perfect beau sabreur. The world was my oyster, and if it wasn't my sword that had opened it, no one was any the wiser. They were golden days, those. The ideal time to be a hero is when the battle is over and the other fellows are dead, God rest 'em, and you take the credit. Even the fact that Elspeth was cheating me made no real difference. You would never have thought, to see her angelic face, golden hair, and expression of idiotic innocence, that she was the biggest trollop that ever wore out a mattress, but I was certain, before I'd been home a month, that she was having it off with at least 2 others. At first I was furious and plotting revenge, but she had the money, you see, through that damned old Scotch money-bags of a father of hers, and if I'd played the outraged husband I'd have been in Queer Street, without even a roof over my head. So I kept quiet, and paid her out by whoring to my heart's content. It was a strange situation. We both knew what was what, at least I think she did, but she was such a fool you could never tell. But we pretended to be a happy married couple. We still bounced about in bed together from time to time, and enjoyed it. But the real life was to be had outside. Respectable society apart, I was in with the fast set, idling, gaming, drinking, and raking about the town. It was the end of the great days of the bucks and blades. We had a queen on the throne, and her cold white hand and her poker-backed husbands were already setting their grip on the nation's life, smothering the old wild ways in their come-to-Jesus hypocrisy. We were entering into what is now called the Victorian age, when respectability was the thing. Breeches were out and trousers came in. Bosoms were being covered and eyes modestly lowered. Politics was becoming sober, trade and industry were becoming fashionable, the odour of sanctity was replacing the happy reek of brandy. The age of the Corinthian, the plunger, and the dandy was giving way to that of the prig, the preacher, and the bore. At least I was in at the death of that wicked era, and did my bit to make it die hard,